My cruel husband and mother-in-law tried to force me to transfer my $50 million company to them. When I refused and destroyed their plan, they secretly tampered with my car brakes, causing an accident. I was badly injured and unconscious. When I opened my eyes in the hospital, I could never have imagined that an even bigger storm awaited me. I used to believe in fairy tales. That's how my story starts, a young woman, brimming with dreams, who thought she had found her Prince Charming. My name is Eleanor Monroe, and I built a $50 million leather fashion company, Eleanor Luxe, from the ground up. It was my passion project, my lifeline, and the product of years of hard work and sleepless nights. Little did I know, the man I married and his family would do everything in their power to rip it away from me. It all began 3 years ago in Los Angeles, California. I met Derek Harper at a charity gala hosted by a mutual friend. He was charming, with a smile that could disarm anyone. A 34-year-old real estate agent, Derek carried himself with confidence and seemed genuinely interested in my work. At the time, I thought I had found someone who respected my ambitions and admired my success. It wasn't long before we were married in a glamorous ceremony that felt like a dream. But reality is rarely as beautiful as it seems. Derek came from an affluent family. His mother, Gloria Harper, was a retired socialite known for her sharp tongue and even sharper manipulation. His younger sister, Vanessa, was a 28-year-old freelance event planner with an air of entitlement and envy. At first, they welcomed me with open arms. Gloria would host elegant dinners, and Vanessa would chatter about her admiration for Eleanor Luxe. I was naive enough to believe they genuinely cared. For the first few months of our marriage, I felt blissfully happy. Derek and I lived in a stunning home in Beverly Hills, and I poured my energy into growing Eleanor Luxe. The company was thriving, becoming a staple in the sustainable fashion industry. But soon, subtle cracks began to appear in my seemingly perfect life. It started with small comments from Gloria. "Eleanor, darling, you should really involve Derek in your business," she'd say, her voice sweet but her gaze piercing. "It's not good for a marriage when one partner is so much more successful than the other." Vanessa, too, would chime in, suggesting that I needed to loosen the reins and let family help me manage my empire. Their words planted a seed of doubt in Derek. I noticed him pulling away, becoming cold and distant. At first, I ignored it. I told myself they were just trying to be helpful, that Derek was adjusting to married life. But their true intentions became clear soon enough. Gloria and Vanessa were envious of my success, my independence. They saw my company not as a testament to my hard work, but as a prize to be claimed, a way to bolster their dwindling family fortune. I tried to keep peace, but things escalated quickly. Gloria began criticizing me openly, calling me selfish for refusing to let Derek support my business. Vanessa started dropping hints about how marriage meant sharing everything, including assets. Derek, eager to win their approval, became their puppet. He started questioning my decisions, accusing me of being controlling and unsupportive. It was heartbreaking to see the man I loved turning against me. The tipping point came when I discovered Gloria and Vanessa had forged legal documents to transfer partial ownership of Eleanor Luxe to Derek. I found the papers in Derek's study one evening and felt my world shatter. When I confronted him, he didn't deny it. Instead, he accused me of being paranoid and untrusting. "My mother and sister just want to help," he said. "Why are you so defensive?" I knew then that I couldn't rely on him. I hired a lawyer the next day to secure my assets and ensure that no one, not even my husband, could touch my company. Gloria and Vanessa weren't happy about that. They began a campaign to isolate me. Gloria spread rumors among our social circle, painting me as a difficult, greedy woman. Vanessa would undermine me in conversations with potential business partners, claiming I was unstable. Derek? He stood by, watching it all happen, doing nothing to defend me. I started feeling like an outsider in my own home. The warmth I once felt in Derek's presence was gone, replaced by a cold indifference. I was trapped in a marriage where I was outnumbered, gaslit, and betrayed by the very people who were supposed to support me. But I'm not one to give up. I decided to keep my distance from the Harpers, focusing on my work and protecting what I had built. Still, a part of me hoped that Derek would come to his senses, that he would see how wrong it was to let his family manipulate him. That hope kept me going, even as the shadows around me grew darker. Looking back now, I see that those months were just the beginning. The betrayal, the lies, the violence, they were still to come. I didn't know it yet, but my life was about to spiral out of control in ways I could never have imagined. If I thought the subtle manipulations were bad, I was about to learn how much worse things could get. The Harper family didn't just want to undermine me, they wanted to destroy me. One evening, Gloria invited Derek and me to dinner at their family estate in Beverly Hills. By then, I had started avoiding their gatherings as much as possible, but Derek insisted. "It's just dinner," he said, brushing off my concerns. "They're trying to make amends. Maybe you should, too." The night started off deceptively normal. Gloria, with her usual polished grace, welcomed us as if nothing had ever happened. Vanessa played her role of the doting sister-in-law, showering me with compliments about my latest fashion line. I couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. The smiles felt forced, the warmth fake. But I stayed, hoping against hope that maybe this time would be different. After dinner, Gloria brought up Eleanor Lux. "Eleanor, dear," she said, her voice dripping with condescension, "I really think you're being too hard on Derek. Marriage is about trust, and it seems like you don't trust him with the business." I clenched my teeth, trying to stay calm. "It's not about trust, Gloria. Eleanor Lux is my responsibility. I've worked too hard to hand it over to anyone." The room grew tense. Vanessa, never one to miss an opportunity, chimed in. "But isn't it Derek's responsibility, too? He's your husband. It's not fair to keep him out of such a big part of your life." Derek sat there silently, avoiding my gaze. That hurt more than anything else. When I tried to end the conversation, Gloria escalated. "You're being selfish, Eleanor. You've made this marriage all about you. You're treating Derek like an accessory." That was the last straw. I stood up, ready to leave. "I'm not going to sit here and listen to this," I said firmly. "If you can't respect my boundaries, I won't waste my time." What happened next felt like a calculated move. Gloria erupted into a staged argument, shouting about how I was tearing their family apart. Vanessa, always the actress, pretended to be on the verge of tears. Derek finally spoke, but instead of defending me, he accused me of being the problem. "You've changed, Eleanor," he said. "You used to care about family, but now it's all about your company." I left the house that night, shaking with anger and heartbreak. I couldn't believe how easily Derek had turned against me. That was the moment I realized I was completely alone in this fight. The Harpers weren't going to stop, and Derek was never going to choose me over them. A week later, the unthinkable happened. I was driving home late at night after a long meeting with my lawyer when my brakes failed. It happened so suddenly. One moment, I was approaching an intersection, and the next, I couldn't slow down. I remember the sound of screeching tires, the blinding lights of an oncoming car, and then nothing. When I woke up, I was in a hospital bed. My body was battered, my head pounding, and my memory foggy. The doctors told me I was lucky to be alive. The police initially ruled it as a mechanical failure, but deep down I knew better. It wasn't an accident. The Harpers had crossed a line. They wanted me out of the picture for good. Lying there in that hospital bed, I felt a mix of emotions: fear, anger, and, most of all, determination. I wasn't going to let them win. They had tried to steal my company, ruin my reputation, and now they had tried to take my life. But they didn't realize who they were dealing with. I wasn't the same trusting, naive woman who had walked into their lives. They had pushed me too far, and I was done playing their game. My assistant, Maria Alvarez, visited me every day during my recovery. Maria was more than an employee. She was my friend and confidant. When I told her my suspicions about the Harpers, she believed me without hesitation. "Whatever you need, Eleanor, I'm here," she said, her voice steady and full of resolve. I also reached out to my best friend, Ryan Carter, a tech-savvy entrepreneur who had been like a brother to me. Ryan had always been skeptical of Derek and his family, And now I understood why. We'll get to the bottom of this, he promised. But you have to be smart about it. Don't let them know you're onto them. Ryan and Maria became my inner circle, the people I trusted to help me fight back. Together, we started piecing together the events leading up to the accident. Ryan dug into Derek's and Vanessa's communications, while Maria kept an eye on Gloria's social connections. What we found was chilling. Vanessa had been in contact with a shady mechanic just days before the crash. Gloria had been making large withdrawals from the family trust, possibly to pay for something illegal. And Derek? He had been unusually quiet, but his silence spoke volumes. I decided to play along, pretending to forgive Derek and the Harpers. I needed to gather more evidence before making my move. It was a dangerous game, but I had no choice. They thought they had won, that I was broken and defeated. But they couldn't have been more wrong. This was far from over. When I left the hospital, I wasn't just recovering, I was reborn. The Eleanor who trusted too easily was gone. In her place was a woman fueled by determination and anger, ready to fight for her life, her company, and her dignity. But I knew I had to be careful. If the Harpers were willing to go as far as attempting to kill me, there was no telling what they'd do next. I returned home, to Derek. Yes, I went back. It wasn't because I forgave him, but because I needed to keep up the act. If they suspected I was onto them, they might cover their tracks. When I walked through the door, Derek greeted me with feigned relief. "Eleanor, thank God you're okay," he said, pulling me into a hug. I stood stiff in his arms, pretending to believe him. Over the next few weeks, I played the part of the forgiving wife. I told Derek I wanted to put everything behind us, to focus on healing and moving forward. Gloria and Vanessa ate it up. "I knew you'd come to your senses," Gloria said with a smug smile during one of our dinners. Inside, I was seething, but I kept my composure. Behind the scenes, I was building my case. Ryan and Maria worked tirelessly, helping me piece together the puzzle. Ryan managed to recover text messages and emails between Vanessa and the mechanic who had tampered with my brakes. The messages left no doubt. She had orchestrated the accident. Gloria's financial records, which Ryan hacked into with his usual flair, showed suspicious withdrawals that coincided with the mechanic's payments. And Derek? His bank account showed a sudden influx of cash, likely his reward for standing by and letting them use him as their puppet. Maria, meanwhile, dug into the legal documents Gloria and Vanessa had forged. She contacted my lawyer and helped compile evidence proving the signatures were falsified. We even discovered that Gloria had been spreading rumors among my business contacts, trying to tarnish my reputation. It was a coordinated attack from every angle, but now I had the proof I needed to fight back. The hardest part was keeping up appearances. Living with Derek was unbearable. Every time I looked at him, I felt disgusted. I wanted to scream at him, to confront him about everything he had done. But I knew I couldn't tip my hand. Not yet. Instead, I acted as though I was rebuilding trust, even going so far as to share updates about Eleanor Lux with him. It was exhausting, but it worked. He and his family believed they had broken me, that I was too weak to fight back. The turning point came during a charity gala hosted by one of my industry connections. It was the kind of glamorous event the Harpers loved, full of wealthy socialites and influential figures. Gloria insisted that Derek and I attend together. "It's important to show everyone you're still a united front," she said. I agreed, knowing it would be the perfect stage for what I had planned. That night, I wore a sleek black dress from Eleanor Lux, a reminder of everything I had built on my own. Derek, clueless as ever, was all smiles as we mingled with the crowd. Gloria and Vanessa basked in the attention, acting as though they were the stars of the evening. But I wasn't there to play their game. I was there to end it. Toward the end of the evening, I took the stage under the guise of giving a speech about my company. "Ladies and gentlemen," I began, my voice steady despite the nerves twisting in my stomach, "I want to thank you all for your support of Eleanor Lux. But tonight, I have something more important to share." I looked out into the crowd, my gaze locking on Gloria and Vanessa. Their smiles faltered as I continued. "Over the past year, I've faced challenges that have tested me in ways I never imagined. But through it all, I've learned the importance of standing up for what's right, even when it means standing alone. At that moment, Ryan, who was running the AV system, projected the evidence onto a large screen behind me. The emails, text messages, financial transactions, it was all there for everyone to see. Gasps rippled through the crowd as I detailed the Harper's schemes. I didn't name them outright, but the evidence spoke for itself. Gloria and Vanessa tried to leave, but security stopped them. "You're not going anywhere," I said, my voice cutting through the room like a knife. "Not until you face the consequences of your actions." Derek was pale, his confidence shattered. He tried to approach me, but I stepped back. "Don't even think about it," I said. "You're just as guilty as they are." By the time the police arrived, the Harper's social facade had crumbled. Gloria and Vanessa were arrested on charges of forgery, fraud, and attempted murder. Derek, though not directly involved in the accident, was publicly humiliated. I filed for divorce the very next day, ensuring he left with nothing. As I walked out of the gala that night, I felt a sense of relief. The battle wasn't over. I still had to testify in court and rebuild my life, but for the first time in months, I felt like I could breathe again. The Harpers had underestimated me, but they would never make that mistake again. After the gala, everything moved quickly. The Harpers were finally exposed for what they truly were: schemers, fraudsters, and, in Vanessa's case, an attempted murderer. Watching them be taken away in handcuffs felt like the first real victory I'd had in a long time. But I wasn't done yet. If they thought their public disgrace was the end of my fight, they were wrong. It was only the beginning. The legal proceedings began within weeks. Gloria and Vanessa faced multiple charges: forgery, fraud, conspiracy, and attempted murder. My lawyer, a formidable woman named Linda Marshall, made sure no stone was left unturned. Linda was relentless in her pursuit of justice, and having her by my side gave me a sense of security I hadn't felt in months. The courtroom became a battleground. Gloria, ever the manipulative socialite, tried to play the victim. "I was only trying to help my son," she claimed, tears streaming down her face. Vanessa, on the other hand, remained defiant, refusing to acknowledge any wrongdoing. But their lies unraveled under the weight of the evidence. Ryan's expertise and Maria's diligence had ensured we had an airtight case. The forged documents, the bank transactions, and the communications with the mechanic who tampered with my car were impossible to refute. Derek was called to testify, and watching him squirm under questioning was almost satisfying. He tried to minimize his involvement, blaming Gloria and Vanessa for everything. "I didn't know what they were planning," he said, his voice shaky. "I just went along with it because I didn't want to upset my family." His excuses didn't matter. The damage was done, and his role in their schemes was clear. While Derek wasn't charged with any crimes, his reputation was ruined. His real estate career was effectively over, and he became a pariah in our social circles. I filed for divorce as soon as the trial began, and it was finalized quickly. Thanks to my legal preparations, he left the marriage with nothing, not a single penny from Eleanor Lux or my personal assets. The trial lasted for months, and every day I walked into that courtroom, I felt a mixture of anger and determination. I wasn't just fighting for myself. I was fighting for every woman who had ever been betrayed, manipulated, or underestimated. When the verdict was finally announced, it was as though a weight had been lifted from my shoulders. Gloria and Vanessa were found guilty on all counts. Vanessa received a lengthy prison sentence for the attempted murder, while Gloria faced several years behind bars for her role in the fraud and conspiracy. The media covered the trial extensively, and I became an unwitting public figure. At first, I hated the attention, but as time went on, I realized it was an opportunity to turn my pain into something meaningful. I began speaking out about my experiences, sharing my story to inspire others to stand up against abuse and betrayal. With the legal battles behind me, I turned my focus back to Eleanor Lux. The company had suffered during the ordeal, but my loyal team and customers rallied around me. Sales surged as people connected with my story and admired my resilience. I poured my heart into rebuilding, introducing new designs that reflected my journey. Bold, unapologetic, and unbreakable. But I wanted to do more. The Harper's betrayal had taken so much from me, but it had also taught me the importance of helping others. I used part of my company's profits to launch a foundation dedicated to supporting women in toxic relationships and abusive marriages. The foundation provides legal aid, counseling, and resources to help women rebuild their lives, just as I had. Maria became the foundation's director, her dedication and empathy making her the perfect fit. Ryan, ever the tech genius, developed an online platform to connect women with support networks and resources. Together, we turned my pain into purpose, creating something that would outlive the Harper's treachery and ensure their actions weren't in vain. Despite everything, there were moments when the scars of what I had endured felt overwhelming. Nights when I would wake up from nightmares of the accident, or days when the memory of Derek's betrayal would hit me like a wave. But I learned to face those feelings, to let them fuel my determination rather than consume me. One day, after a particularly successful charity event for the foundation, Maria said something that stayed with me. "You didn't just survive, Eleanor. You transformed. And because of that, so many others will have the chance to do the same." She was right. The Harpers had tried to break me, but instead, they had made me stronger. They had underestimated my resilience, my intelligence, and my will to fight back. And now, they were paying the price for their greed and cruelty. As I sit here today, reflecting on everything I've been through, I feel a sense of peace. I reclaimed my life, my company, and my dignity. I turned my pain into a purpose that would help others find their strength. The Harpers are a distant memory now, their glamorous lives reduced to scandal and disgrace. Derek? I don't know where he is, and I don't care. What I do know is this: I'm free. I'm stronger than ever. And I'll never let anyone take that away from me again. My story isn't just about survival, it's about triumph. It's about proving that no matter how dark things get, the light inside you can always find a way to shine.